Today, we're diving into the final words of John's Gospel, and what we're going to find is a seemingly simple moment that holds a theological truth so profound, it just might change the way you see your own story.
To find the answer, let's transport ourselves to a quiet shoreline right after the resurrection. It's here, in this moment, that we find a powerful and deeply personal command meant for every single believer. So the scene starts with this incredibly human moment. Jesus has just restored Peter in this beautiful act of forgiveness and commissioning. And right then, at that peak moment, what does Peter do? He gets distracted. In John, chapter 21, verse 21, Peter literally turns his head away from Jesus, looks at the disciple John, and asks, "Lord, what about this man?" It's a question we've all asked, right? It's that question born from comparison and distraction. Now, you have to understand, this wasn't just some idle curiosity. Peter and John were absolute pillars of the early church. And yeah, rivalry was a real thing. Plus, there were these rumors flying around that John would live until Jesus returned. So this question was loaded. It touched on leadership, on speculation, and really the stability of the whole community. And Jesus' response, well, it's just profound. It's not some harsh rebuke. It's this loving, sovereign course correction that snaps the focus right back where it needs to be. In verse 22, Jesus just immediately redirects him. He doesn't even answer the question about John. Instead, he pivots right back to Peter's personal responsibility. The message is just crystal clear. John's story is not your business. You know, the original Greek here is so powerful. When Jesus says, "If it is my will," he's using a phrase that shouts his absolute authority. He's not dropping hints about a secret plan. He's flat out declaring that every single person's story, Peter's, John's, and yours, belongs completely and totally to him. And then he says, "You follow me." See, in the original language, that word "you" is emphatic. It's pushed right to the front of the sentence to give it all this weight. It's like Jesus is pointing his finger right at Peter and saying, hey, this is about your obedience, your walk. You follow me. And right there, that's the shepherd's heart of Jesus. He is lovingly protecting Peter and protecting us from the absolute poison of comparison. He frees us from constantly looking over our shoulder at what other people are doing and calls us to our own unique, personal walk with him. Now, to really feel the weight of these final words, we have to remember who wrote them down. It's John, the beloved disciple, the very guy Peter was just asking about. So in John 21, verse 24, John basically steps out from behind the curtain and says, hey, I'm the one who saw all of this. I'm the witness. This isn't myth or legend. He's grounding our faith in eyewitness reality. And even the grammar here tells a story. When he says we know, it's in what's called the perfect tense. That means it's a settled, ongoing, unshakable certainty. This isn't the early church saying we hope this is true. No, it's a declaration. This is an established, enduring truth, period. What John does here is just brilliant. He masterfully connects the very end of his gospel to the very beginning. Remember how we started in John chapter 1 with the cosmic glory of the word? Well, now he ends in John 21 with a deeply personal call to follow that exact same word, all based on a true witness. The infinite became intensely personal. And then John leaves us with one last staggering statement about the one he followed. A statement that's really designed to just fill us with a sense of wonder. Just let that sink in. This is the gospel's final word of all. After everything he's already written, all the miracles, all the teaching, John says it doesn't even begin to scratch the surface of who Jesus is and what he did. Think about that. This is so much more than just beautiful writing. It is a theological thunderclap. It's John declaring that Jesus is inexhaustibly glorious. It's an invitation for us into an eternal exploration of a person so vast, so magnificent, that no library on earth could ever hope to contain his fullness. The Gospels, what they give us, is this perfect, true, and totally sufficient window into who Jesus is. But what they're pointing to is a reality so much bigger. A glory so magnificent that what we have in writing is just the very beginning of the journey of knowing him. So, what does this all mean for us, right here, right now? Well, all of it. The cosmic glory, the sovereign will, the reliable testimony, it all funnels down to one final, incredibly personal point. The final word of the gospel is not to look at other people, not to measure our walk against theirs, or to get tied up in knots wondering about their calling.
And it's not to get lost in endless debates or try to map out some hidden timeline for the future.
The final word is a simple, direct, life-altering call to action that just cuts through all the noise and distraction.
This is it. This is the absolute center of it all. A direct, unmediated, and personal command from the risen Lord of the universe, spoken straight to your heart. Because in the end, this is where it all leads, to a Christ who is sovereign over your story, who calls you personally, who is infinitely glorious, and whose testimony you can stake your entire life on. The final word of the gospel isn't an idea to be analyzed. It's a person to be followed.